Oki.
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 Oki, and welcome.
We acknowledge that we're gathered on the lands of the Blackfoot people of the Canadian Plains.
We pay respect to the Blackfoot peoples past,
Present.
Future. We recognize the thousands of Indigenous peoples
From many diverse nations,
all Lethbridge home,
including members of the Blackfoot Confederacy,
the Six Gates,
Akana,
Sisika.
as well as other First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. We respect Indigenous peoples' cultural heritage,
beliefs,
Truth
and relationship to the land.
that stretches back in time.
We will not blink at history.
We will not blink at history.
And we will learn from it.
Oki is an invitation.
a step forward.
in Blackfoot, Oki means hello.
Oki means hello.
Hello. Oki.
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 Oki. And welcome to the lands of the Blackfoot people. Here we go.
Remember, Mom is a kayak denier, so please don't bring it up.
Bring what up? Kayak?
Excuse me?
Okay. Hello. Excuse me. Hello. Good evening. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to Aakitaapitsinikotsio'pa. I hope I'm pronouncing that close. Basically, it means the place where we tell our genuine stories to one another. So I apparently am not sharing this with my colleagues tonight. But okay, that's all right. What I can do is I can tell you about a new center in Lethbridge that I visited that I thought was really is going to be very helpful, I think, in terms of understanding Indigenous relations as white people having understanding Indigenous people better. They've the center, which I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce it. I think it is Aakitaapitsinikotsio'pa, I think. So it's basically in the university at W650, I believe, is what the address of the building number. Oh, hey, there's Lindy.
Hi. How are you?
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. I'm glad you joined me. I was just thinking I'm just going to have to try and talk about it a little bit, but now I got the expert. Oh, and TJ too. It's just getting better and better. Okay. Hey, hello, TJ. How's it going?
I'm well, thank you.
Good, good. TJ, have you ever met Lindi Shade?
I don't think so.
Okay. Lindy is the executive director of, I just tried pronouncing it, Lindy. I probably didn't get it right. I said Ikaskini.
Igeskini.
Ikaskini?
Yeah, Igeskini. That's the Indigenous Student Center at the University of Lethbridge.
Hey, I wasn't even that bad. Igeskini. Not
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, you have it now. Hi, TJ.
Hi, nice to meet you, Lindy.
Nice to meet you too.
So TJ, I went down and I met Lindy a week ago, and she showed me the center, and she told me about the elders who are going to be there visiting on a regular basis. So tell all our viewers about it, Lindy. What can people expect when they come and visit you?
Okay, so we have Igeskini, which translates in Blackfoot meaning low horn, is our Indigenous service center that provides support programming for our Indigenous students at the U of L campus. And so we have an administrative office, and we also have a gathering center, which is open to all of our Indigenous students to utilize to come in. It's we like to think of it as like a hub for all of our Indigenous students to come in and meet other students. Elders will be available on campus within our center that are there to support our Indigenous students throughout the semester.
And really very nice location in that center hub there. Like, that's a beautiful, very upfront and, easy to find kind of a location. That's awesome.
Yeah, and actually we just relocated about since September. We were actually our center was actually located by residents, so it was quite far off from the main campus. So a lot of our students, well, first of all, they didn't know where the center was. It's quite a walk away from the main campus there. So a lot of our programs and services weren't being utilized, and a lot of students are still not too sure on where our service center was. And so we didn't get a lot of traffic, and so we had to bribe a lot of our students with, of course, food and entice them through gift cards just so that they can come to our programs. But since we've relocated, we've had more traffic, and students can access it much more easily than opposed to before. So
Excellent.
great. Yeah.
It looks like was your old location kind of like a house? It was more of an old house kind of a thing. Is that it looked like from a?
It's just a small center. It's actually called the Patterson Building, and so it's right next to the residence. So and there's actually a laundry set in there for students in housing in residence. So, but that's where our programs were. But like I said, it was pretty far away, and so a lot of our students weren't able to access our programs and services, and a lot of students felt that it was a bit too far. And it just didn't meet the needs of our students. So
you sure got a sweet location now. That's a really nice location. So, and remind me about the elders. They're going to be there like during the week. And I know you said Indigenous, but when I was there, you said I could come there as well. I'm not Indigenous, obviously, but I could come there as well and chat with elders too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like we have 3 elders and residents that are available for our Indigenous students, but as well as a lot of our non-Indigenous students are always welcome into our center. We have a lot of faculty come in, ask questions, meet with our elders, just to get some cultural guidance and support as well. We try to meet the needs, like our framework is really built around we try to think of it as a cross-cultural paradigm, just meaning that it's not just meeting the Indigenous students, but we like to also meet a lot of our international students as well as our non-Indigenous students. So when we have events, we always open our doors to any student that just wants to come and partake in any of our programs and services.
Nice. TJ, are you pretty familiar with the U of L campus? Or you went there for a bit, didn't you, if I recall correctly?
No, I didn't. No, I'm a U of A grad.
Oh, okay. Anyways, the location that I was sharing on the university where you enter on the original building on the 6th floor, and it's like right on the other end in that part where the cafeteria, there's a big open area and it's a high ceiling type area. It's a very nice area. So yeah. So when I come to visit elders, like, do you make an appointment or something, or you just show up and then see if one's available and bring your little bag of tobacco and say, will you teach me? That kind of a thing is what's supposed to happen, right?
Yeah. And then usually each month we have a schedule of when they're going to be accessible on campus. So, so we try to bring that out. We have a Facebook page that we like to announce all of our events and services, as well as we have a email listserv. So we like to make sure that we announce when they're going to be on campus. First and foremost, the elders are for students, but we always open it up for anyone that wants to come on campus just to meet with our elders. So, and they're very, very accessible to anyone who wants to come in and talk with them.
Lindy, nice. Can I ask who the elders are?
Yeah, so they're from the 3 elders are 2 are from Kainai, Francis First Charger and Kathy Hunt, and we also have 1 elder from Bigani, which is Shirley Crowshoe.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Is awesome. That kind of odd that all female elders? Is it like generally it's kind of more a mix male and female for elders, isn't it?
Well, actually, 2 are female and 1 is male. Francis is our male elder. Yeah.
Okay, Francis. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, sorry, got it.
Yeah, no worries.
You know, one thing I learned when I came to visit you, sometimes when I go around town, I don't buy the parking passes, because you got to pay $2 and the ticket's 10. So I'll just take a chance, right? But not at the University of Lethbridge. Oh my goodness, I got a ticket. It was $50, and if I
Yeah.
paid in a week, it's $35. So $35 for a parking ticket, where it's $10 anywhere else. That would surprise me. So
It's yeah, and it happens to us too. Like, let's say if we like the one thing I will say about parking at the U of L campus, it's quite far. So where our office is, it's quite a trek. So when you kind of prepare yourself when you're coming into work, because it's quite a walk.
yeah.
But I guess the positive thing is I always, let my guests know if they're coming into the Gascony Center or just coming to any kind of program or anything we have going on at the U of L. I always let them know ahead of time. Parking is a little bit expensive, and they do watch quite. Security does quite watch the parking meter expiry time. So that's kind of one of the things. But once you're on campus, like it's actually it's a walk anywhere.
Right.
So when you're on campus, so yeah.
Yeah.
So Lindy, I have a question because I just came back from Minnesota.
Okay.
And we had the opportunity to meet with a fairly newly organized Indigenous Students Union
Nice.
down at St. Benedict's and St. John's University. And I'm curious, does University of Lethbridge, in addition to the center, have an Indigenous Students Union?
We're actually working on that right now. Before we did, it was quite active. It was the FMNI Student Union. However, just with COVID and students, like our students are still not on campus. It's still an online system right now. So we are working on rebuilding a Indigenous student union in the fall. So that's actually one of our goals for the coming fall. It was quite strong in the past, but just because of COVID and there was such high stress for our students, it was kind of a little bit neglected over the past 2 years. So yeah, that's one of the things we're working on right now. We have like a whole new team with the Gascony, and so right now, though, those are one of the goals, is to get our student union back and up and running in the fall.
Nice. It was really interesting to meet these young people, because the idea of Indigenous students coming together down in Minnesota, especially at it's a Catholic high caliber school, and they hadn't when those kids enrolled, they never dreamed that they would meet other Indigenous students, and they never dreamed that they could have an Indigenous Students Union. And so it's a small but mighty team. Right now there's only 11 of them, but they know that there's like 26 on campus. So one of the goals I challenged them with when I left was find out your other 14 kids and have a gathering and come together. But it was pretty cool to even just watch a small network be such strong advocates. It was
So
really,
TJ,
really great.
were you there to be like a support, a mentor for them? Is that why you were there?
Sorry.
That's okay.
I didn't want to cough in your ear. I was catching the mic.
Good recovery. Good job.
So 2 elders and myself and a really close colleague of mine, it was her alma mater, actually. And she had gone down and been invited back to speak down. They host, every year they host Red Talks, which is like a TED Talk. And so as an alumni, she had been invited to come and speak. And so we made a week-long trip out of it by taking the elders with us and hosting about 3 or 4 circles, talking about treaty, talking about, settler-ally relationship in Alberta, and, kind of some of the conversations that we've been having here. And so, yeah, we got to build upon an already existing opportunity, which was really cool because the students themselves had just started to build some presentations around, they're called border schools down there, where they're called residential schools up here. And we actually went and watched the students present with one of their professors at the local museum to the community. And again, it's only just at the beginning of eye-opening, right? Like people not realizing or understanding what was done or the impact. And I didn't realize there was so many similarities between what happened here in Canada and what happened in the US. I actually didn't realize that Canada had consulted what the US was already doing when they brought the residential schools up here to Canada. So yeah, there was lots of learning and it was great. So it was kind of I wouldn't say it was a one-way mentorship. I definitely would say it was a reciprocal learning on both sides. And then we brought them some hands-on experience. We brought down some draw knives and taught them how to scrape teepee poles. And yeah, it was good. It was really fun.
That's awesome. So built some bridges, made some connections. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Hey, Lindy, what is your Blackfoot name?
Oh, my Blackfoot name is Beat Nikki.
Beat Nikki?
Yeah, Beat Nikki. Yeah.
And what does that mean?
It means I always laugh when I say this. I'm proud of it, but it just means kills from afar. It was actually my great grandmother's name, so it's
good one. Yeah, exactly.
Honored to have that. I just wanted to ask something, TJ. I really find that what you just spoke about very, very interesting. I think just to explain more, at the University of Lethbridge, we actually have over 500 self-declared Indigenous students on campus. Like we have students from not just from the Blackfoot Confederacy, but we have students from up north, Treaty 6 territory. We have some students way up by Northwest Territories, Yukon. So one of the main goals of Vigaskinny is really around being exclusive and trying to incorporate a shared support system for all of our students, especially students that are from far away from home. Mm-hmm. So one of the things we've done is when we implement our programs, when we try to plan for the year, we really try to work on how to reach out to some of our farther away students. And so, and just, we also have, so we don't have a, like a student council, as I mentioned before, like the FMNI student council, but we do have an Indigenous rep, and his name is Nathan Crow. And he would also be another interesting contact to speak to. He's done a lot of amazing things with our students on campus, and he is really the lead. And when we're doing any kind of programs and services within our center. And so one of the things, I guess, in terms of moving forward is really trying to encompass like a very holistic support program for all of our students. It's just very difficult right now, especially with COVID. And, you know, the students, we just went through a strike. So the students were without, you know, their classes. And so now it's crunch time. So they have a couple of weeks to get through this semester. So it's kind of a stressful time right now. But one of the things is I think it's really important to really kind of connect with other institutions. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's one of the things we're working on for the fall, is really connecting to some of our other Alberta institutions.
Two comments I have. It sounds like you guys are doing some really great work, Lindy. That's so awesome. One of the things I wanted to share when you said, especially from our kids from far away, needing them to have a place where they feel a sense of belonging, I guess, maybe. Even just us being in Minnesota, there was a young man in one of our circles from Alaska. And he speaks fluent his language and is also a transliterator for his community. And he's only like 19 years old.
Amazing. That's
and awesome. It is so cool. But he had never felt safe enough to speak his language on campus until we were there and holding circle. And when we held circle and got to, you know, when our elders introduced themselves by way of their first tongue, it just really set the tone for him to feel confident to be able to present that to both his Indigenous and non-Indigenous peers, because no one else knew he even spoke. So what a beautiful gift. So that was one thing that came to mind for me. The other thing that came to mind for me is, Lindy, do you know about influence mentoring? Oh, good.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I wanted to make sure that U of L is, I assumed you guys were already a partner, but just that you guys knew about it, because I think it's a pretty amazing program.
Oh, definitely. We actually just had our Indigenous Awareness Week a couple weeks back. And so what we did is we really tried to, that was actually one of our presentations, was the influence mentoring. So it's actually a partner, and that's actually run through the MasterCard Foundation. So the MasterCard Foundation is an external funded program that is a tripart agreement. So that's through the Blackfoot Confederacy and the University of Lethbridge, as well as community. And so one of the goals of that program is really around increasing our Indigenous students within the Blackfoot Confederacy to attend post-secondary. It doesn't necessarily have to be the U of L. It could be U of C, it could be Mount Royal, U of A. It's very much a support system to ensure that they have the resources to get to the next place in their educational, journey. So and that agreement is actually with the influence mentoring is really coming out of the MasterCard Foundation. They built that connection along with the Eskini. So it's quite exciting. So we're looking forward to that partnership.
Nice. That's awesome. Awesome. Alan, do you know about influence mentoring?
Well, I think I do, but you tell me, because there's another person at the U of L, and there's another program at the U of L that they're using an organization out of Calgary to do the facilitation of connecting the students with the mentors. But it is like, maybe you know more about that, Lindy, than I do. I attended one session on it. And then they were looking for mentors for it, and then there was an application process that you applied and that kind of a thing. Do you want to speak more to that?
Yeah, that's the to my understanding, that would be run out of the MasterCard Foundation. So Shanda Weber is the contact. She's the contact lead for that, and she is actually working with that organization in Calgary to start gathering some mentors for the students. So
so that's the program I was thinking. The one with Shanda. I don't understand MasterCard, like the credit card company that they funded.
It's actually a foundation, and so and I'm not the expert, but this is what I know. Okay. But so when I came, I'm actually I've only been at the U of L for 2.5 years. So when I came in 2020, the MasterCard Foundation signed an agreement with the Blackfoot Confederacy, which includes Kainai, Piikani, and Siksika, and Amska Piikani, which is in Browning. And so part of that process was to build a partnership. So it's an external funded program that is centered at the University of Lethbridge. But it's an agreement with the Blackfoot Nations. And so from that program, they are really looking to enhance and increase Indigenous students to attend post-secondary. And so part of that process is it's an agreement, I believe it's for 5 years, but I'm not, Shanda Weber is the contact lead, or Heather Muro at the University of Lethbridge. That would be the best contact for the MasterCard. So Ikaskini, we're an internal organization within the university. So the MasterCard is an external program, and they have 3 educational navigators from each community. So Piikani, Siksika, and Kainai, and they are called learning navigators. And so what they do is they work with the different nations within their own housed communities, and they start gathering, educating students to begin thinking about post-secondary education.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let me just, I'm going to just share my screen for just a moment, because I have just a screen up with Shanda on it here that shows this program. Come on. There we go. So this is, so Shanda, and that's her Blackfoot name, Hummingbird. And this is basically about that program, is what is that she's the manager of strategic Indigenous learning initiatives, and here they speak about that program. So
Right.
anyways, that's it's, I'm not sure where they're selecting. I know about how they're selecting the mentors, because that was part of that video and that process, that kind of a thing. I'm not sure how they're selecting the students, but I'm sure they're just going to do, as long as they can make connections, they're going to make connections, right? And long as, I'm sure that's how they're going to go about it, I would think. So, yeah.
I would
So
assume.
is that what you were thinking, TJ? Am I on, or yeah?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know much more than that, except for that I know that it partners industry with post-secondary students to create relationships and give them kind of a first-hand experience of the field that they're passionate about, kind of giving them a more in-depth insight into what potential or what that might feel like, look like.
Oh yeah. And the more connections we have, the less racism becomes, right? The more we connect, the more we have conversations, the more we do things together, the more we try and work on things together to make our community a better place, racism just goes away, disappears, right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And I think really too, one of the things through the center that is, I guess, one of the key foundations of Igescani is around education. And so as an example to that, when we do speak about like racism and discrimination, we really are an ally for our Indigenous students. So one of the things that we've done during COVID was my partner and I, within Igescani, we did cultural sensitivity training. And so it's something we are working on. It hasn't been finalized, but providing cultural sensitivity training for new employees. Because one of the things that I can say about the U of L, it's not just because I'm an employee there, but we have a really great president who's all about indigenization on campus. So it's one of the 3 strategic priorities. So one of them, we have an Indigenous chancellor that's from the Kainai Nation. And a lot of what we do is really try to gear around indigenization and reconciliation. So moving forward, we really try to aim to gain more allies within the university. So when we have, for example, Indigenous Awareness Week, of course, we couldn't have had it in person this past 2 years. We had it online, but in the past, it's a big celebration which the whole university participates in. We have usually a powwow, we have a smudge, we have different faculties and departments will host events. And so in moving forward to next year, hands crossed, we want to make sure, fingers crossed, we want to make sure that we can have it in person. And those are some of the initiatives that is really exciting at the U of L campus. And we just passed an Indigenous governance model. So a lot of exciting things focused on indigenization. So it's really exciting times for us.
You seem very hopeful about our future relations and moving together, moving forward together. You seem hopeful about that. Am I reading that correctly, Lindy?
I have to be.
Good,
You got to be passionate. You got to be passionate to do this work, because in all honesty, it comes from the heart. And especially when you're working with, as an Indigenous person, as a member from Kainai, when you have a goal, you want to ensure that goal is realized, and you have to ensure, especially when you have the greatest support system, as well as all of our existing allies. One of the things is really working on building stronger partnerships, not just on campus, but with the city of Lethbridge as well. So It's something, really try to be proactive and,
Yeah.
really thinking, being positive. It really does make the work much more enjoyable.
I don't know where I read this before, but it kind of twigged on your comment about also newcomers to Canada or newcomers who are on campus, and that's a great connection there, right? And this Indigenous group that I had been reading about, they had decided that when newcomers came to Canada, lots of times they were getting very negative messaging about Indigenous people, right? Like that, so what they did is they went to the airport to meet the newcomers to Canada, right? And kind of give them here's who we are, and here's our in clothing that would make it obvious that they're Indigenous, and they want to share their culture with them right from the get-go, kind of a thing. I thought that was a beautiful thing, right? They go and they have newcomers to Canada saying, here, like, come meet us. Here's who we truly are, and I think that's a beautiful thing. That was a smart idea.
We do have work to do in that area, because one of my close friends just wrote her Canadian citizenship test, and she was taken back, putting it gracefully, how little there was about our Indigenous people, our First Peoples of Canada, that had to be known when she took the test. So we have lots of work to do, especially if that's the first introduction for our immigrants to learn about our First Nation people or about us as Indigenous people, and it's not really doing any justice. There's work to be done. So
yeah, well said, TJ. Well said. Well, ladies, I think unless we have anything else brilliant we have to share, I think we should kind of wrap things up here. Lindy, anything you want to close us out on?
No, it was really nice to meet you both, and this was a really interesting conversation.
You're welcome back anytime, Lindy.
Yeah, it was interesting, of course, and thank you, TJ, for that. I really think too there is a lot of work to be done in that area, and I think just we're one person, and we can do as long as we can meet that one person. And I think for me, it's just about educating about our history, and having a lot of our international students are always welcome to come into the center. We get a lot of curious students coming in, and they're just taken back at how welcoming our Indigenous staff are, Indigenous students. And so, I mean, if we can start at the institutional level, I think that's it's a good start.
Absolutely.
Hey, TJ, the center also has where they can burn smudge inside to do a blessing for events inside the center. Ooh, pretty cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, we're excited for that. We usually do that every morning. We have a smudge and
nice.
Set the day off at a good start.
Perfect.
Well, Lindy, thanks so much for joining us. As TJ said, we would love you to come back and share more with us. And you know what? If you know somebody else who wants to come on and share stuff with us, these are the kind of stories we want to have. Oh, and our friend Annette said, "Oh, too bad she couldn't be here to see Lindy. She had grandma duty is number 1 on her list. We are farther down. That's just how things work." So,
yeah, and she's a very good grandma, so I know
exactly.
Her grandkids are very important. So
yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
So we can certainly understand where we're not anywhere close to being close to the grandkids in terms of preference. So yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for hosting, Alan.
Thank you, Alan.
All
right. Good night.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you, Lindy.
Bye. Bye.